Right, I thought it was probably a bit unfair to just draw out what I'd done without actually showing the circuit. Um, so we've got four new rubberized cables. The first one, sorry, trying to do this looking at the iPhone screen. The first cable here is from my 12 volt power supply, and that is powering the LEDs, and it just goes as I showed you on the other video. If I can focus, I have removed the components in the AC in circuit, the bridge rectifier, the cap, and the socket, and the 12 volts is just applied to where the cap was originally in this, what does that say, C1 position. So that's the LEDs. Again, they use the lights, the switches, there's no issues there. So that's that. The next cable is here. Oops, is a mains cable in on a timer, and we have, in my particular case, we have a live in and then neutral to here. And then the other cable is on the other timer, and we've got live in there and neutral into that side. Now I've utilised the existing circuit arrangement, and I'll show you in a second. So you've basically got live to the ballast and then neutral from the ballast, although mine strangely are labelled live and neutral and are in fact reversed here. So check your connections, see which is live on this connector. That's the important thing. Forget the what they say on the ballast. Go if it's live on these two outer pins, which it will be, because if we turn this over, that is, let's see if this will focus. Yeah, that pin out on the right that is empty is where the AC in used to be. Okay, and the only thing I've done differently is at the bottom there, that is the green, the bluey green. It's blue. I think on others it's green. I think I've even described it as green. But on mine it's a blue connector, and both of the lives to the ballast came from that pin straight down into the live, and then the neutral is these two here. So what I've done is I've just directly wired up mains cable live to the ballast, and then the neutrals, if you look at the board, the neutrals are these two here, but they go through the track. That connection, the 2-pin connection here, is to the switch, and then I've soldered one neutral into there and the other neutral into there, because that track is all linked. Okay, see what I've done? Neutral and neutral. So the lives are separate from each timer, and I've put the neutrals together, and then they go through this switch, and normally that switch will be left on, and depending on the timer positions, both of the fluorescents will be lit if that's the situation. But if you go to what used to be the fluorescent on switch, you can turn them off together along with the fan. Now the fan, so these two mains cables are just here, that one and that one. Obviously I've put the mains through the clamps, and this one that's floating, I've just cut a small hole out. It's rubberized cable, so that will pinch tight and seal when the lid is on. The last one is coming off here to the fans, and all I've done here is the fans are going to be, well, the fan supply, which is another 12 volt transformer, is going to be plugged into the same socket as I showed you on my earlier video that the final bright fluorescent tube is on. And again, fortunately I didn't have any heat shrink tubing, so I've soldered the connections and just taped them up, and they'll just sit in there. It's not an issue, it's only 12 volts. Again, and I'm not bothered about the fact that there's no clamp on this bit, and that little rubber washer's just fallen off of there, which I'll have to sort out in a minute. So the fans and the lights to the two fluorescent tubes can be switched off, so if you want to do some maintenance and the timers are on and powering them both, you can just flip the switch on the hood and both fluorescents and the fan will go out. So we've got LEDs that can come on their own. The first fluorescent tube can then come on, and then the third fluorescent can come on with the fans. I've just, in fact I'm going to do a little bit more tidy than this. I'm going to put some extra cable ties in certain positions just to keep it all still, but as I say, the only thing that I've had to do is actually remove components from here, add in the 12 volt supply which is there, and scrape this track off, and that's it. So you know, we've got separate live inputs for each ballast, and that's worked out you know, perfectly for me. And as I say, I can override them on the switches on the hood, so seems to be the best of both worlds there. You'll remember when I was bleating about these fans the other day, saying how stupid it is to have fans sucking out from a sealed unit. And later on that evening I corrected it by saying, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I've made a mistake, because there is in fact vents you know, on top of this light hood. Well, actually I was right in the first place, because the vents in this hood are separate to the power supply section. So everything I was moaning about is in fact valid. The only air gaps you've got are these little slots here and at the end there. Otherwise this is a sealed unit. So I stand by what I said, and you should reverse one of the fans, you know, just spin it round. I don't mean wiring wise, just turn the fan over by unscrewing it, so you've got a fan blowing air in and the other fan is sucking air out. That's got to be a better solution than two fans sucking air out when really there's no real gaps for airflow. Yeah, so that's it. If that was useful for anyone, that's great. You know, it works for me. I'm quite happy with all of that. Obviously everything is RCD protected, and each mains cable is on a, well, in fact all the mains equipment is on a 3 amp individual fuse. So yeah, that will be that as far as the hood modifications go. So yeah, I'll catch you all later.